Hello and welcome to Poetry Living's Occupational Health and Safety Orientation. Administration and Agenda. In the unlikely event of an emergency, please follow instructions. Assembly area muster point is located at the site trailer or at the front of the head office. Please ask questions to your supervisor. Occupational Health and Safety Policy Statement. There's a commitment from Poetry Living Management to the health and safety of employees, workers, and others who may be affected by our work. There's also a firm commitment to continual improvement, legal compliance, and internal responsibility. This is all mentioned in our Occupational Health and Safety Policy Statement. Environmental Policy. Poetry Living's goal is to train, educate, inform, and consult with our workers about environmental issues that may affect their work. 2, promote the efficient use of materials and resources throughout our company. 3, endeavor to use non-hazardous materials and product when practicable. The Green Book. This is the Ontario Occupational Health and Safety Act and regulations for construction projects. The goal of the Green Book is to protect workers against health and safety hazards on the job by setting minimum standards for safe work practices. Worker expectations, general rules. You are professionals in a work environment. No horseplay, no fighting. Cell phones, headphones, Bluetooth are not permitted while working. Alcohol and drugs. Working under the influence or possession of alcohol or drugs are grounds for immediate removal from the work site. Smoking. Smoking is permitted in designated areas only. Commitment to safety. Health and Safety Board. This is available in the Poetry Living site trailer, Poetry Living head office. Acts regulations posted on the Safety Board, available for your review at any time. WMIS, MSDS, SDS. This is available in the site trailer office, Poetry Living head office. This is also available for your review at any time. Commitment to safety. Poetry Living has a joint health and safety committee on site if needed. Held every 3 months. Minutes and members are posted on the Safety Board, and it's available for your review at any time. Toolbox talks will be held weekly on site. A job hazard analysis, Poetry Living only. This will be completed daily to identify hazards and controls. Joint Health and Safety Committee. Members' names will be posted on the Safety Board. This will include management members and worker members. Employer responsibilities. The employer must ensure that prescribed protective devices, equipment, and materials are provided, used, and maintained. Ensure that training and competent supervision are provided, and take every precaution reasonable under the circumstances to protect the worker. This is the responsibility of every employer on site. Supervisor responsibilities. Supervisors must be familiar with legislative requirements, Poetry Living policies, and procedures. Ensure that work is done in a safe manner. Be knowledgeable and advise workers of actual or potential hazards. Provide instructions for the protection of workers. Take every precaution reasonable to protect the worker. Enforce the requirements of the Poetry Living HSC program. Investigate and record HSC deficiencies and corrective actions. Worker responsibility. Workers must work in compliance with legislation and Poetry Living policies and procedures, participate in HSC training and investigations, immediately report hazardous conditions to their supervisor, use personal protective equipment as required, never make protective devices ineffective, never engage in unsafe behavior. Personal protective equipment. Types of PPE. Head protection, mandatory on site at all times. Foot protection, mandatory on site at all times. Eye protection, mandatory on site at all times for only Poetry Living personnel. High visibility clothing, mandatory on site at all times. Additional PPE includes hearing protection, respiratory protection, and they are as needed. Other PPE. This can be task specific. Gloves, work gloves, cotton knits, yellow or green PVC, etc. Clothing. No shorts or cutoffs, no tank tops, no muscle shirts. Keep clothing in good condition. Heavy mobile equipment. Struck, crushed by heavy mobile equipment is a leading cause of construction fatalities. Only authorized person must operate heavy mobile equipment. Heavy mobile equipment have different blind spots. Get the operator's attention before approaching or crossing into their path or swing zone. Normal site speed limits are 15-20 kilometers an hour. Always drive according to the conditions around you. Heavy mobile equipment. You must have a designated traffic control person, signal person, when an operator's direct line of sight is obstructed. The use of mirrors does not constitute direct line of sight. A person could be endangered by the operation of the vehicle or equipment or by its load. The designated traffic control person, signal person, must wear high visibility clothing. Light vehicles and heavy equipment. All provincial laws and regulations apply. Daily inspection is required. Respect all site speed limits and signage. Fall protection. Fall protection must be used when working at a height of 3 meters or more, from a lesser height involving an unusual risk of injury, at a height of more than 4 feet if the work area is used as a path for a wheelbarrow or similar equipment. At any height when working over operating machinery, over water or another liquid, over hazardous substances or objects, by an opening in a work surface. Harnesses, lanyards, and lifelines. Wear correctly. Dorsal ring must be in correct area. All straps must be adjusted properly. Inspect daily for cuts, burns, strands, abrasions, and signs of other defects or signs of damage. Discoloration and brittleness indicate heat or chemical exposure. Fall prevention. Fall prevention includes proper use of worksite access such as ladders and scaffolds, protective covers over floor and roof openings, warning barriers and bump lines, guardrail systems, travel restraint systems. Fall protection for floor openings. Floor openings must be protected by guardrails or rigid covers. Whole cover must be covering an opening completely, securely fastened, clearly identified as a cover, constructed of material adequate to support all expected loads. Protective covers. Examples are shown. Pallet style cover, protection for floor openings. Fall protection, guardrails. Top and mid rails and toe board must be secured to vertical supports. Posts must be no more than 2.4 meters apart. Top and mid rails and toe board must be on the interior of vertical posts opposite of outer edge being protected. Top rail must be at a height of 0.9 to 1.1 meters. Snow fence, caution, and danger tape are not guardrails. Examples of guardrails are shown. Safe access and egress. Employees, workers should always use stairs or a ladder to get up or down from elevated heights. Both hands must be free for grip when going up or down a ladder. Always use 3-point contact. A hand line shall be installed to lower and raise all materials. Safe lifting. Lift correctly using your legs, not your back. Get help on heavy or awkward loads. Stay close to the load you are trying to lift. Avoid unnecessary bending and twisting. This places the greatest amount of stress on your back. Tools and equipment. Tools. Safety features are not to be removed or made inoperable. Ensure tools are kept in good working condition. Tag damaged tools and immediately remove from service. Frequently check power cords for their condition. Use of compressed air. Compressed air is not to be used to clean clothing. Secondary secure whip checks must be in place. Safeguards. No employee worker shall be remove, impair, or render ineffective the safeguards provided for the protection of workers. Ladders. Set ladder up on secure footing and at the proper angle, 1 foot up horizontally for 4 feet up vertically. Ensure ladder components are not damaged or defective. Clean ladder from mud and grease. Clear landing areas. No debris and/or materials must be left at the base. Set ladder up at a safe distance from live electrical conductors and equipment. Portable ladders. Ladders must be secured at both the top and bottom to prevent movement. Maintain 3-point contact when climbing up or down, 1 hand and 2 feet or 2 hands and 1 foot. Ladders must extend at least 3 feet above landings. Always face the ladder when climbing, descending, or when working from a ladder. Step ladders. Make sure spreaders are pushed down and locked. Never stand on the platform, the top step, or the pail shelf. Never use step ladders for temporary bracing or shoring. Excavation and trenching. Never enter a trench more than 4 feet without adequate protection. Proper access egress must be provided. Example, a ladder. All tools, equipment, materials, and spoils must be kept 3 feet away from the edge to prevent falling objects and/or materials from striking workers. Cave-in, ground, subsidence protection. Workers must be protected from cave-ins. Slope or bench the sides of the excavation, support the sides of the excavation, or place a shield between the side of the excavation and the work area. Barricades. Physical hard barricade around excavations can be around any open hole, can be the swing area around crane or excavator, has to be tagged by installer, information on tag to include company name, date, nature of hazard. Wooden guardrail, tubing clamps, snow fencing, rope with red flagging are all considered to be acceptable barricades. Housekeeping. Clean up spilled materials immediately to prevent incidents. Use proper waste management bins for all hazardous waste. Clean up waste materials on a regular basis throughout the day to prevent making a hazard. Use proper lighting at all times. Don't work in the dark. Keep equipment clean and tidy. Overhead power lines. Operating voltage between conductors of overhead power lines and safe limits of approach distance for a person's equipment are shown. For 750 or more volts, but no more than 150,000 volts, minimum distance to be away is 3 meters. More than 150,000 volts, but no more than 250,000 volts, minimum distance is 4.5 meters. More than 250,000 volts, minimum distance is 6 meters. Fuel storage. Fuels, propane, and gas cylinders. Storage of all fuel must be outdoors. Storage area must be situated in such a manner that containers, cylinders cannot be tipped over or run into by moving equipment. Appropriate signage must be posted. Red containers, this is for gasoline. Yellow containers is for diesel. Fuel storage. Fire extinguisher must be located next to fuel storage. Workers must be aware of fire extinguisher location. In the event of a fire, remain calm, alert others, pull alarm. Operating a fire extinguisher, the pass method. Pull the pin on the handle, aim the hose at the base of the flames, squeeze the handle to release the agent, sweep the hose from side to side. Only attempt to extinguish fire if you feel it is safe to do so. Confined space. A confined space is defined as a place that is partially or fully enclosed, that is not designed or constructed for continuous human occupancy, and where atmospheric hazards may occur because of its construction, location, or content, or the work that is done in it. All three criteria have to be met before a space is defined as a confined space. Examples of confined spaces include vaults, tanks, pits, trenches, manholes, silos. Important note, workers must be fully trained and certified to work in confined spaces. Any workers not holding the correct training must not enter the confined space. Workers must never enter a space unless it has been correctly tested for oxygen deficiency, explosive, flammable, or toxic conditions, and all required documentation is completed. Scaffold. All scaffolds must be erected, modified, dismantled, and certified by a competent person. In accordance with legislation and manufacturer specifications, all scaffolds must be tagged, signed by a competent person before being used. All scaffolds must be re-inspected on a regular basis. Elevated work platforms. Workers must be tied off to designated anchor points at all times while in the platform. Never leave the platform while elevated. Lower the work platform before moving. Training. Workers' employees are required to make available proof of training from a recognized training provider at orientation or prior to engaging in any activity or task under expectation of the Occupational Health and Safety Act and/or regulations for construction projects. Emergency muster meeting points. In case of an emergency, all workers are to evacuate to the emergency muster points for a head count by supervisor. Emergency response procedures. This is with regards to the air horn blast. Man down, signal 1 long blast of air horn, 5-second delay, repeat. Fire, signal 2 consecutive blasts of air horn, 5-second delay, repeat. Evacuation, signal 3 consecutive blasts of air horn, 5-second delay, repeat. Assembly area is at muster point. All personnel on site must sign in out for head count purposes. Emergency medical first aid. Remain calm. Immediately advise your supervisor and the person designated for first aid. Protect the victim. Do not touch the victim unless you are specifically trained to do so. Call 911 and answer questions while remaining on the line. Workers' health information. First aid kit located in the site trailer first aid room. Names of first aid attendants are posted on the main safety board and on emergency stations. Drinking water. Water is available in the site trailer office. Washrooms, cleanup facilities are located next to the Poetry Living trailers normally. Facilities will be cleaned and maintained on a regular basis. Workers must report any poor conditions or vandalism. Disciplinary action. This occurs when a worker commits a safety violation on site. These are the 3 steps we follow. First step is verbal warning to the worker. Second step is written warning to the worker. And third step is suspension dismissed for the worker. Incident, near miss reporting, and investigation. All work-related incidents, exposures, near misses, and equipment damage must be reported immediately to a supervisor. Supervisor to contact safety department to complete incident report. Incident reporting, WSIB. Poetry Living has a comprehensive modified duty work program in which workers are required to participate. You are important to us. If you sustain an injury, we will work together to get you back 100% as soon as possible. This is only for Poetry Living personnel. Workplace harassment. Mutual respect, cooperation, and understanding of all people in the workplace is expected from all employees, workers. Workplace harassment is not tolerated on site. Workplace violence is any act or incident whereby an employee or worker is intimidated, threatened, abused, or assaulted in circumstances relating to their work. Workplace violence is not tolerated on site. Dues. To be completed according to Poetry Living's safety management system. Job hazard analysis, completed daily, only Poetry Living personnel. Supervisor weekly inspections, weekly toolbox talks, equipment inspections, reporting of all incidents. Overview. All workers working on a Poetry Living site must accept safety as a personal responsibility, thereby agreeing to abide by the legislation and Poetry Living Health and Safety Program. Poetry Living is concerned with your safety. We don't want you hurt. Work safely at all times. Be alert to possible hazards around you. Watch out for moving equipment, material handling operations, etc. Pay attention to all warning signs, ropes, barriers, etc. Hard hats must be worn at all times. Full body harnesses and shock absorbing lanyard must be worn while working at heights of 10 feet or over if the work area is not provided with a proper guardrail. A face shield and safety glasses are required during grinding and cutting operations. Proper safety footwear shall be worn by all workers. Face masks or other respiratory equipment must be worn where you are exposed to injury from noxious gases, fumes, or dust. Note, must be fit tested and clean shaved. Work gloves will be worn where there is a danger of hand injury from splinters, blows, pinching, cuts, abrasions, burns, or skin rashes. Operators require training in the safe operation of forklifts and other heavy equipment. All environmental spills or any environmental release must be reported to your supervisor. Proper clothing is required to be worn that protects against physical agents. Examples include heat and cold. Before starting a job, check your tools for defects and check the area you will be working in. Report any unsafe conditions that you may notice anywhere at the workplace. Don't take shortcuts, use the stairs, ladders, or ramps provided. Be sure of your footing. Check all ladders and scaffolds to assure that they are safe for use. When working from a step ladder, stand no higher than the second step from the top. Report all incidents to your supervisor no matter how small. Maintain an orderly work area with good housekeeping practices. Use only approved solvents for cleaning fluids. Store and transport gasoline, thinners, oils, etc. in safety containers properly identified and in compliance to WMIS requirements. Control your welding and cutting operations at all times to protect yourself, employees, material, and equipment. Use welding screens and other protective measures. Open fires are prohibited. Poetry Living is committed to the concept that all workers have the right to participate in all matters relating to health and safety, know about the issues relating to health and safety, and have the right to refuse any unsafe work. Running, shoving, fighting, playing practical jokes, or other horseplay is prohibited at the workplace. Firearms or dangerous weapons are not permitted at the workplace. Work areas are to be inspected at the end of the shift to ensure that machines are shut off, that no fires or sources of fire are left. All steam, air, water, and electric power shall be shut off unless otherwise instructed. All procedures controlling smoking areas, vehicles, eating areas, flame permits shall be followed. All protruding objects must be bent down, pulled, or removed. Fire extinguishers will be placed in areas subject to fires. All fire control equipment must be well maintained and readily available for use. All washrooms, toilets, tool cribs, lunch areas, and shops must be maintained in a safe, clean, and sanitary condition. Workers working over others must advise on those below of hazards and take all precautions to prevent accidents. All workers shall use personal protective equipment as required. Follow all confined space requirements, including entry permits. Ask your supervisor for direction. All requirements for lockouts and tags shall be followed. Possession, use of, or trafficking of intoxicants and or non-medical prescribed narcotics or drugs are strictly prohibited. Thank you for listening to Poetry Living's Occupational Health and Safety Orientation. Please complete all of the following questions. Your family and friends want you home tonight, so stay safe.